there are other mummies. You've seen a hint of how complicated things can be when I told you about the web of faith, the lands of faith, where we can get Sekhem, life force, from the sun and from the webs that connect these holy places. But I tell you, why is Turkey in the land of faith? Why is Greece, Mesopotamia? These are not Egypt. Egypt may have briefly owned them at some point, but Egypt owns a lot of places that are not in the web of faith. No, they are repositories of intellectual fervor and religious fervor, none of which is now of the old Egyptian religion, and yet this sustains us. This is where the web of faith gives us our Sekhem. That is an implication that it is not just ancient Egyptian beliefs that make us alive, but something more, something different. And the ultimate proof of this is in the other mummies across the world. In South America, we find the Capacocha. These lived a life somewhat like the Shebsuheru. They were mummified upon their death, and the ritual of going westwards into the sun was cast upon them. It is but an imperfect copy of the spell of life, and they would slumber for long times and periodically rise again, and then slumber again. It was a pleasant existence, communing with your descendants at several years' resolve, seeing things change slowly and bringing your wisdom to help. But it was also a lazy existence, and little by little, knowledge of the spell of going westward started to be lost. Because it took them some time to return, it was never immediately obvious if the ritual had failed or not. And then came the Spaniards, with steel, with horses, with germs, and with their new god. They carved away all the old religions of South America. They carved away the mummies. They killed them. And it became harder and harder for them to come back. The ritual was completely forgotten. Until the maelstrom that destroyed the Egyptian souls released the long slumbering South American ones. They returned. They talked with their descendants. Their descendants recuperated the few mummified bodies that still remained, that were not in museums, and those were brought back. And so, for the first time in a long time, the Capacocha walk again. But as I said, theirs was an imperfect resurrection. And a new brand of them, the Teomallki, they were a lot more like us. They don't have ancient mummified bodies, but new bodies, because they are the infusion of a soul, of an ancient soul who has the ritual of going westward cast upon them, and a new soul. So just like us, they are brought back. It is a much more balanced merger, because it's not a soul shard. It is two beings, an ancient being and a modern one, in one. A merger. It would be a more perfect version of us were it not for two important facts. The first one is that it's clearly not more perfect. Even with this, their spell of resurrection is incomplete. They are not fully alive as we are. But secondly, they have no moral foundation, no mat, no balance. They are just beings, humans. They do as they will. They follow their own morality, their old conflicts, their old lusts, their old preferences. They can go in many directions. They do not serve balance. They are not corruptors indirectly. They can be both. They can be any. So do not assume that the South American mummies are allies or enemies. They are just normal, immortal beings. And then finally, going east this time, we reach the lands of China, where there used to be immortals who, through the force of Tao and concoctions of magic, made themselves last and live forever. And they served their Jade Emperor or the celestial bureaucracy until the celestial bureaucracy was lost. A story of a demon king. I just think that it fell to entropy and corruption, like all things do. And the Wuqian were left. They were first 8 immortals to watch over the Middle Kingdom, to make things as good as they could, to preserve. They reached out to other Taoist immortals and other Taoist wise people and made them immortal. And that is their mummies there. They are very different from us. They serve stability, but in a much less interventionist fashion. They do not want to bring about stability. They want to preserve what can be preserved. The Wuqians are not souls, imperfect souls merged with ancient souls. They are those who are spiritually wise and aware. They're arrogant bastards, if you ask me, though they do have quite a lot to be arrogant about, admittedly. But yes, as you will discover soon, there are so many wonders in this world of ours. So many wonders worth discovering and worth fighting to protect.